So please take a seat now. Okay, so please take a seat. It will be easier for everyone. First question, do we have English-speaking people here? Or okay, so we will talk in English then. Okay, so great to see you here today. Okay, I'm very curious again. How many people are here for the first time in this product management meetup? Great. Okay, so today we are here to share the experience of product management. We have two great speakers, and the first one is Simona from Vinted. She's a product manager, and she will share her story how to make a 2-month project in 8 months. So I guess we can learn something from her.
Okay. Hello. Okay, everybody hears me. So, hello everyone. So I am Simona, and I am product manager at Vinted. And I'll try to speak in English during all of the presentation. So I want to share about one of the projects that we did with the company and with my team. And during that project, we learned a lot of great things and learned and had a lot of great experiences. And I would like to share them today with you. But first of all, I would like to ask you, who of you knows what Vinted is? Please raise your hand. Everybody. Nice. But I have a video for you, so you know exactly what Vinted is all about. Okay, so Vinted is a social platform for the girls to buy and sell their pre-loved clothes on the platform. And at the moment we are in 10 different countries, and we have over 2 million monthly active users. And about the project that I would like to talk today, that project is called Bundles. And in Lithuanian it is called rinkiniai. So maybe somebody here knows what I'm talking about. Please raise your hand. Yeah? Okay, you doesn't count. Okay, so did you try it?
Yeah.
Did you like it?
But just a test.
Okay, so this kind of functionality allows girls to buy several clothes in the several clothes in the same sellers at once. Before we started doing this feature or functionality, there weren't an ability to buy several clothes in one seller's closet at Vinted. And if you wanted to buy two different items, you needed to buy it separately. And in Lithuania, we do not have a payment system, so there are no problems with that. But in other countries, like in US or in France or in the UK, we have a payment system. So that means if you want to buy two items, you need to buy them separately. So you buy two shippings for both items. So with this functionality, you can add two items in one package and buy for one shipping. So you are saving money every time. And during this presentation, I would like to speak about three things. So the first one is the development process that we went through. Then the unexpected journey. So this is something that we didn't expect in the beginning of the project when we started. And the key learnings that we faced, that we learned during the process. So let's start from the development process. During that time when we started working on the project, SquarePants, so my team, was a special op teams. And when we worked on these features, we needed three things. They needed to fit in three different problems. Drivers. Let's call them drivers. So the first one, those features should be in line with a long-term Vinted strategy. Then they needed to be in line with the short-term company goals. And the third one was those items or those features should not be covered by other teams. And the process looked like that when we started working. So we have a lot of different problems that we saw, a lot of different big potential. They were put into backlog, and there we prioritized those things. And there were different prioritization criteria. So three I already mentioned you, and the other were like, is it difficult? How long will it take to develop the feature? And after the prioritization, we had our half-baked roadmap. And then our top management approves the roadmap, and then we have a short-term strategy for our team. And how looked the development process when we are talking about the separate feature which is already approved. So let's start from the bundles. So we approved this project, so we know that we will work on the bundles. So the next stage was to have a goals and metrics for this project. And then we are working with so we are using Scrum as our development process. So then we have a Scrum cycle. So the first stage, so we have the project, we prioritize the project, so we know that we will work on this project. Then we have goals and KPIs, and then we start the Scrum cycle. So we have analysis stage. After that stage, we approve the goals and roadmap. Then we have development stage, QA, then deployment, and after the deployment, we have evaluation and detailed requirements. So let's start from the beginning. So why we prioritized this feature among other features? So there were several factors, and the most important ones was that it solved our business problem, and the second one, it solved the members problem. So we already know that there are a group of people in the product that already do this, and they had their own ways to bundle several items from one seller's closet. And we saw in the user researches that the people want this feature and they see it as a must. And the third one was that we are e-commerce like a platform, so in this category, in this area, cards are a common practice. And the goals and KPIs that we had, So the goal was completely correlated with our business problem. So at the moment we had a problem, a low AOV. So our goal was to increase AOV. AOV, its average order value, by enabling bundling. And the main KPI was AOV itself. So what did we learn in this process? So the first one was the vision is a key. When you think about the project from the very, very beginning, you need to think about the vision, how it should look. It should look in your product, and how it is in line in your product vision, how it aligns with this thing. Okay, so prioritization. So when you have more insights about the project from the very, very beginning, it is easier to prioritize. And at that stage, when we took this project, it was completely in the really, really, really early stage. So we didn't know like completely nothing. We just believed that this is like something that we need to do because it's like, wow, everybody does that. And yes, it solves our problems. That means that this is the right thing to do. But looking back now, I would say do a research. It will help you because in our case, we lost like 8 months of work. And if we would know more and we would do a deeper prioritization and insights about this problem, we would save a lot of time and money. And the third thing is evaluate different opportunities. Maybe there are some other ways to improve the KPI that you have. So we went this way, but we didn't see another features or another ways how we can solve the same problem. So let's go to the other stage. So it's analysis and design. So when we started diving deeper into the feature, we started from the analysis. So after it we knew that at the moment in the platform we had 5% members who already bundles in the platform, and we knew that 38% of the bundlers, let's say AOV, so 38% of the bundle AOV was higher than the single item AOV. And the third thing that we found was that the average number of items that they bundled was 3. So we knew it in the early stage at the beginning. And the other thing that we encountered was the pattern, how they does it. So the first one was like this. So we have a buyer and we have a seller. So buyer comes to the seller and says, I want to buy several items from you. Okay, then the seller raises the price of the item so that it would pay for 2 items at once. And then the buyer buys the one item. We see just one item, but in the reality, she buys 2 items. And after the purchase, then the seller just erases the items. So this was the one pattern. And the other pattern was that the buyer comes to the seller and says, I want to buy several items. Okay, so the seller says, you can buy it, and just wait. So what does the seller? So then she uploads the new item and adds all the pictures of other items that are in the bundle, writes the description and writes, at Marite, please do not buy. So she knows that this is for her. And then the Marite goes there and buys the bundle specifically for her, and then the seller erases the items that were purchased together. How looked the design process? So the first one, we did a user flow. So we knew the steps how the buyer the steps that buyer goes through to bundle. So this was the first stage. Then we did a wireframe. So we already had like understanding how the features should look like in the project, in the product. And the last stage was the visual design. So this was like the last stage. So how it will actually look in the product. So yes, and this is this was the first signs that something is not so good. And we didn't see it. So we started to plan the feature. Okay, we look at the designs and look at the windows and everything. It looks nice, and we think, okay, that will be easy to implement. This is not so easy. This okay. So maybe like 2 weeks. Okay, and then we started looking deeper into the backend, and then we saw that Vinted is 8 years old. So that means that the code was written completely when they started coding Vinted. They didn't think that there's a possibility that in this far future there will be a possibility to buy several items together. So everything was around the item. Okay, so code architecture, it doesn't support that. Okay, this is a sign. Then we started to evaluate how long do we need to do a perfect solution to solve this problem. Okay, so we see 7 months. Okay, so we still believe that this is really good feature, so we need to do it. So is there a shortcut that we can take? Of course there are. So okay, we found it. So we have one month and a half to do it. Okay, so this is like something that we can consider. So one month and a half, so this is not so bad. So let's start, okay? So we approved this goal, so 1 month and a half, and approved our goals. And so what we learned in this stage, so first thing, involve your members early in the process, as possible as you can. Then what we did, we thought about the problem just from our perspective. So we didn't know how actually they does it. So we didn't invite them in the office and didn't look how they actually uses the product and how they does it. If we would do it, we would save a lot of time. So if you can and if you have a possibility, look how your members uses your product and how if they use this, like we have like 5% of members who already does it. So if you have that kind of possibility, just invite them and look how they do it, because then you can make a solution that where the users that you can adapt for the user, but not the other way around, where the user needs to adapt for your solution. Every shortcut has a price, so yeah, so that we didn't know how much we will pay. Now I know, and you will know like really soon. But yes, so if you see that the project really like long time, like 7 months, ideal time is 7 months, consider it again and again and again, because there will be price in the future how much you will pay for this. And the risky project the same, so evaluate it really carefully. So we started our development process. So everything was really nice. So we have like 1.5 months to do it. And then we remember that we forgot to add the buffer. So we had like extension time. And then we thought, okay, so we really believe in this. So maybe we need to go stronger. So let's do another feature together and let's make it like a huge bundle and release it together. Okay, we did it also. And my team didn't have a web developer at that moment, so that means that we have more time for the development. So we started with 1 month and a half, and in the end it took 3 months. And the release started like here. So, learnings. First, if you see that the feature takes longer than 1 week, do really detailed planning. And we know if we have like my team after that had like a projects for 3 months, for 4 months. So when you have that kind of projects, you need to have a really detailed planning before. And at one time we even planned for a week just to be sure that we have all covered, all areas covered. And after that we saw that in the end it paid off, because we still had unknowns, and you will have, but the percentage is a lot smaller. When you have a big feature, define scope and divide it into really small chunks. For my team, it's ideal about 1 week. And when you do a big feature, like for 2 months, so 1 week is really good because you will have an unknown factor, and we still, after like 1 week planning, we still had 50% unplanned tasks. So when you do a little short sprints, then you can really quickly react to it and to improve it and to improve the plan ahead you. And yeah, so this was something that we didn't do. So I know that is common practice. You need to add buffer. Everybody knows that, but not everybody does that. So we didn't, because we were so confident that we planned good. But now when we work on the projects, we have 100% buffer, and then when we have this 1 week chunks, the buffer goes like smaller. When we know when the uncertainty level goes down, then the buffer also goes becomes smaller. So this is like the only stage I think that we didn't do any mistakes. So this was like great. So we have our user cases. We wrote testing scenarios. We tested in our team together. And in Vinted there is a common practice when you have a feature. We have like 6 teams now. We have 7, I think. So we have every team is responsible for the quality. So we have our inner demo. And after that, when we say that that's okay, we believe that our feature is ready for the release, then we have another team, the release team, who tests again the already released build, release candidate. So then they test again. And after that, we have a release. So we released the feature, everything was nice. And after the release, we did two things. So first one, we did a data analysis to understand how we are doing. And the other thing was we did a user research to understand how members think, what members think about our feature. So the first stage was like the analysis one. We saw really good adoption in the early stage, so it went up. So this is a global, so this is from 7 different countries, but we had some countries that was just amazing. So in US it was like skyrocketed, it was like this. And in Germany it also went like skyrocketed. In other countries it didn't went so good because there weren't a problem. So like the countries like Lithuania, Poland or Austria, they didn't have that problem, so the feature was not the adoption was not so good. But in the end, global result was this. So you see that the goal that we had and the reality was quite different. So what our members said. So we saw that the majority of our members were happy. They really liked the feature. So what we learned in this stage. So for me, the biggest learning was, please make sure that you know how you will measure the feature. Because our main KPI was AOV. Okay, so it is like really easy changeable metric. And at that moment when we released the feature, there were like going different things in all of the markets. So the friends, because I don't know why, but the friends just started going up like crazy. Then other markets started growing. The other markets started going down, and there weren't any market where I could just be sure that this is our impact because of the different situations in different markets. So just be sure that you know how you will measure it in the end. So after the feature, so we released, everything is nice, so we are happy, we already celebrated, we know that everything is nice, and then started the problems. Okay, so the first one. Okay, so we knew that we will have a technical debt. So yeah, it was yeah, we took that risk, but we didn't know that it will cost 3 months for us. Okay, so let's do it. We did that, and then the other was that in the early beginning, when we started the project, we didn't invite our members into the testing user testing session. So we didn't know how they use it. So what we did, we created 2 separate purchasing flows in the same item page. So this was not the best way to implement new feature. Remember, I said you about the vision. So we didn't think about the vision. We just thought about the separate feature and how we want to implement it. But the vision was something not in our vision, I think, at that moment. So this cost us additional 1 month. And the third one was fee calculation. So in those countries like US, France, we have a payment system, and there we have different schemes. How can we calculate the fee that we take for the transaction? So in the situation when we have a bundle, and if you have a different schemes, we didn't have a way how to calculate it correctly, because there weren't such a functionality before. So it costs us additional 1.5 months. So if you remember the number that I showed you previously, so the ideal variantes. Ideal option was 7 months, and we in the beginning took 8.5 months to craft it. So we took a longer way, thinking that it will be faster. So what we learned. So as I mentioned you 2 times, I think, vision is a key. So if you have a vision, how your product should look like in the very, I don't know, 3 years ahead, 4 years ahead, think about it, and don't remember when you have something and you are building some separate feature, it should be in line with the vision all the time. You heard my speech, and I think that you heard that I talked a lot about functionality, features and everything, but I didn't speak about the problems and what kind of problem we solve here, because we didn't think about it. Because we thought, okay, we have amazing feature, we need to implement it, but we forgot the members problem. If we would go with the member problem first, then the solution would look completely different. Just keep in mind, and this is our practice. Involve the users in the as early as possible in the process. If you know how they use your product, it will be easier for you to think about the solutions. And evaluate the real cost of the project. So we sold 8.5 months project for 1.5 months price. This was like a really big investition. But from the positive side, so the first one, we made it easier for the members to buy. So now they have like a really quick and easy way to buy several items in the same closet. We made our code base healthier. So now it's for other developers, it's easier to develop. And the most important, we had fun, we still had fun, and learned a lot of valuable lessons that we now implemented in our daily work. Thank you.
So now we have some time for questions if you have any.
Firstly, in the objectives, why your feature couldn't overlap with what other teams were doing? Maybe you could have collaborated or whatever and saved some time.
So about which project?
In the drivers, if you go back, I didn't understand that part.
Drivers.
Yeah.
So this was the Vinted analytics at that moment. So every team had its purpose in the company, and our purpose was to be a special ops. So we were always prepared to work on the project that is is small and has a lot of potential. So this was just our team's purpose in the company at that moment.
Well, the second question is, if you didn't have bundles, how did you evaluate and calculate how many people are doing bundles?
We measured, there is a way, we have data analysis, and there is a way when we saw that there is a price when the transaction started, and we see that after the transaction the price is higher than it started. So this was something that we didn't expect, because when you start buying clothes, you don't buy it with a higher price. So we started evaluating that cases. And so this was how we found the first pattern. So this one. And the second one was, and then we saw that after that, there is a deletion process started. So we saw that, we saw it over again, and then we understood that they just delete those items together and they buy just one item, both together with one item. So this was how we found this one. And the other one was really easy to find, because when you go to the US market, and we knew that we are in a low segment there, and you just scroll, feed the feed, and you see the items where are a lot of different pictures, and you see, for Camille, do not buy. For Eddie, do not buy. So this was how we found the other one.
Thank you.
You said that one of lessons learned was to work in sprints, in small,
Yes.
for a week. Do you have separate deliveries for each of the sprint as a result, or how does it work in that?
We have a single focus point in one sprint, so we are working on just one feature at the moment. So if we have a goal, so one focus, one sprint, and the sprint can change its duration. So if we have something small, so we can work just for 5 days. If we have something a little bit different, like bigger, so we can have a sprint for 2 weeks. It depends from the focus that we have at that moment.
But can it be a more complex delivery, like for 4 weeks?
So yeah, but when we have a project that takes 4 weeks, so then we split it into smaller chunks for 1 week, or other period that we can that can be deliverables. So it should be deliverable.
And I understand that, but can it be that it cannot be deliverable in 1 or 2 weeks, like quite a complex change which cannot be chopped into pieces?
You need to find a way. We had really complex situation when we worked on bundles, or in the even of the refactoring. Refactoring, we took 2 months or 3 months to refactor the code, and we still worked in the small chunks. So we found a way how to divide them. It is hard from the beginning, and that's why we had 1 week just for the planning, just to find a way to split it into the deliverables, the parts.
Another question: do you involve users in the testings right now, as you said?
Yes. Now we have in all of the stage we have testings. So we are inviting people into the office. We are inviting here in Lithuania. We are inviting in US, in Germany. It depends from the project, but we are looking how they use the product and looking for the ways how we can optimize it. And even when we do not have a purpose or do not have a feature, we still do user testing just to find something that could be improved.
Do you invite randomly?
Yes.
Also, you mentioned that you should do deeper research.
Yes.
And so what kind of research you did and what kind of research you will do now?
We didn't do any research.
You just find out.
We just believed that this is something that we need to have, and this is common knowledge, because everything in the e-commerce has a cart. So this is the right way to go. So this was our research at that moment. So now we would do a lot of different, more researches. We would do a user research at first, just to understand, is there a problem at all? Then we would invite people to the office to look, to talk with them, to understand them. Then we would go through other competitors to look how they solve this problem, and then we would have to do and then we would look for the patterns in our own products to look maybe they are doing somehow they are already that doing, and to understand how they are doing that, and then just go and do something. When we are talking about the products about 7 months, so this is big. When you have something for a week, so maybe you can have this risk. You can have that risk. But when we are talking about the projects that are 7 months, so then you need to think about more than twice, even 3 or 4 times.
And do you have any differences between US users and European users?
Yes, they are completely different.
Can you share it?
They are completely different, and I don't know how much I can say, but
as much as possible.
They are completely different, and the sellers are different, the buyers are different. They look completely. They buy differently, and the ways that they communicate are different. Like in Germany, they are huge vibe, and they are there for one purpose. They want to save the planet, and they want to help others. And so this is their motivation. And in the US, they are completely different. They do not think about that things. They are consumers. So they think that how to get something good deal and really fast. So this is their motivation. So other markets are completely different also. So there are similarities in all the markets, but there are main differences, like how they buy it and why they buy it. Like in the US, they buy for the deal, and in the Germany and France, they look for the valuable item. So that means they invest more time, they buy more expensive items, and they buy more usual one item, not several items, because they want to have something that are really, really unique. And in the US, they are like our second-hand shoppers, when you are and go with a bundle and you buy everything cheap. So they're different.
And coming back to one question before about user research. So if you have made the user research at the stage 1, initially, would it have impacted the end result, the deliverable, or would it impacted on estimates and your business approval?
It would impact the approach the final solution. Because when we started, I told you that we did 2 different purchasing flows. So if we would have a user research then I think that we would see that now we would have their task list, how they are solving this problem now, and we would implement our bundling into the process because they are used to this process. And how we did this, we implemented new things that they didn't know, so they needed to learn it. So this was all we did. Entry barrier. We created the entry barrier because they need to learn it. If we would have them into the office and saw how it's used and would implement their way, for them it would be more natural way because they are used to doing this.
Is this an old project?
Yes, it is old. It is old project. We started it 2015 June.
And what were you refactoring for 3 months?
The code base.
Yeah, what was, generally?
Because there weren't any ways, because our code architecture didn't allow that kind of bundling at all. So that means that we took a shortcut and we created 2 different conversation screens. So we have all our purchasing flow goes through the conversation. So what we did, we created the second one, so the second line. So that means that we have 2 different conversation flows how you can buy. So you have single item conversation flow and you have bundling conversation flow. And when after the release, we saw that to maintain 2 different flows was really, really costly for our team and for the company, for the other teams. And we had the situation when you always needed to think that, oh yes, this is bundling, so we need to adapt for this. So that's why we saw that the cost to maintain it was higher than to refactor the code.
You were talking about how would you something differently. So does that mean that feature is considered as kind of a failure? So if you can go back like a year ago and decide whether to build that or not at all, would you consider the decision to roll back?
That's a good question, and this is a good filler from me. Okay, so I don't know. I think that I would do it again, but maybe in a better way, because we know that our vision as a company is to help people buy things. That means that for them, it should be easy to buy whatever they want. If they want to buy one item, please go buy one item. If you want to buy several items, you should have a possibility to do it, because our purpose for the platform is to ease the way for the buyers to buy things from the sellers. So this goes in line with the vision. But then we didn't think about it. But when you see it now, you see that this is the vision. We need to help people to buy as easy and as quickly as possible. So this goes aligned. So yes, I will do it again.
You have more questions? Okay, so now I would like to invite Tadas Deksnys. He's the founder of InsideWarehouse, and he will share what he learned during his lecture in Silicon Valley.
Okay, so hey everybody, my name is Tadas. I am CEO and co-founder at InsideWarehouse. Just a brief story about myself. I cannot walk, because I'm covering this stuff. Okay, so I started my own career and founded the first company like 10 years ago. Started from web development company, as some of you here probably did the same. After 5 years, we launched a second company. It was a B2C company selling to end consumers online, and it went quite well. We sold the company last year. We were selling pet supplies, all that stuff online, and then eventually we became a market leader. In 2015, we founded the current company, InsideWarehouse. What we do, we help consumer and retail brands to sell more by embracing user-generated content on the product details page. InsideWarehouse was the first company from Lithuania which joined Alchemist Accelerator in the United States. It's a B2B focused accelerator. We spent 6 months in the US and raised some money and learned some lessons. So today I'm going to share a few of those lessons with you. Last year we were recognized as a startup to watch by Forbes magazine. So just a background of myself. And the issue or the problem is that we like to build things. And I met many companies and founders who are actually so stuck in the building process that they spend like a half a year, or in the worst case scenario, a year building stuff. Then they go out to the street and they see that nobody cares about what they were building. And this is a tragedy, right? Because you put all your heart into something without knowing if somebody is going to buy it. And even big companies, let's say like Amazon, extremely data-driven company. Actually, they spend more time on customer development rather than on product development. And it's a good example, you know. Even if you are a small company, you can start building things after you actually close your first deal. And in many cases, companies or founders are struggling to do that. So I would like to ask you, if you could have a possibility to ask one question, single question, which question would you choose to ask? Please raise your hand. If it's A, just raise your hand. The question is, when and what customers can buy? Okay, and the question B, will we buy it? Could you raise your hand? Okay. And you know, the thing is that most of you actually raised a hand for will we buy it, but in reality, we spend an enormous amount of time trying to get the answer to question A, which is all about product development, right? And again, I'm coming back to the issue that we love to build things without even knowing if someone is going to buy. So A, it's all about product development. B is all about customer development. And I think it's very related things. You cannot be a product manager and spend no time on talking with customers. So it's a crucial thing. And you know, the thing is that we are not as good as we think we are. We have lots of ideas, and when we are trying to talk with the customers, we see that we cannot bring any value to the table. So actually customers, I'm talking more about B2B customers. The first case, the first presentation was more about B2C, but in B2B some things are really different. And talking about the building relationship with the customers, you can build it only by creating some real value to their businesses. And the second thing, that the odds that you will avoid a big mistake is below 50%, and it's pretty much the same rate in big companies like Amazon, Google, etc. I believe that Vinted has a similar rate of success in implementing new solutions or ideas. So despite the fact that you have the most talented, incredible team, you cannot avoid making a big mistake at guessing what people would like to use or to buy. So it's the same as, you know, throwing a coin to the air, and you can have the same possibility of making a big mistake just by randomly choosing which side of the coin flips on the table. And the third thing, just to prove that human beings are not so good at making decisions, is that people tend to pay more attention on information that confirms their beliefs. Yeah, so it's so-called confirmation bias. You can actually Google it. It's a very, very interesting habit of human beings. So that means that when I'm trying to find a way to validate my idea, I usually listen for the information which could actually confirm that my idea is the best idea. And it's very difficult to deny that. So I will walk you through the 3 main lessons. It's going to be a very short presentation. I'd like to open a dialogue afterwards. So only 3 lessons, main lessons we learned while being in Silicon Valley and working and talking with many US companies, from SMBs to enterprises. So the first lesson is listening instead of endless talking. And what you actually need to do is to learn to ask questions. It's a very common advice, but it's very difficult to execute on because people are used to talk a lot. I have the same issue actually. And when you talk a lot, it's very difficult to get any information from the client or from the customer or from the prospect customer. And several weeks ago I met a guy in his latest 50s, and he's incredible experienced guy, took many positions as general manager in different companies. And that was our first meeting. I never saw that guy before. And within like a second minute of our meeting, he pulled out his laptop and started to show me a presentation about some kind of business strategy, how it's important to buy his stuff and do business strategy. I don't even remember exactly what he was selling to me, but it was the second minute of the meeting. So it's the main lesson: get some information from a customer, so you could actually repeat the same what customer said to you, and you will close the deal. But in most of the cases, we just start talking about our product, about our features, and we even do not know if our customer has a need for that. The second thing is getting the first guess from the customer when validated. Because usually we have like 10 mockups, we have a code base, we are writing a code for like 6 months, and we don't even know if we are guessing right, yeah? So even prior writing a single line of code, you can actually go and talk with your target customers and try to get the first guess from them. Because people are good at talking, but it's not about asking customers what product I should build. It's all about actually trying to invalidate your assumptions, so you don't need to prepare like 10 different versions of your product and then go to market. So you can, by invalidating your assumptions, you can actually try to actually to get the real need from the customer instead of get what we want. Because usually people are not very good at communicating what we need, but it's very difficult to hide the actual need. But people are very good at talking what we want. If you ask what features would you like to include into the product I am building now, we will list you like 10, 20 features we would want to have, but actually there is no need for that. So it's very difficult to separate these two things, a need and a want. Next, the second big lesson we learned while being in US, it's to focus on solving A-level issue. Because if you actually cannot define a pain within the company you are selling to, it's very difficult to move forward. And we usually hear that startups or normal companies, businesses, actually claiming that there is lots of competition around, and that's why I cannot close the deal, because companies or enterprises are choosing from different options, alternatives. We have offers from my competitors, and that's why I cannot close the deal. But in most of the cases, it's not true. The main competitor of your company usually is status quo. So actually, at your target company, nobody wants to change something if it's not a real pain. Yeah, if it's a real pain, we are looking for solution. We are proactively looking for solution, and it's a good way to close the deal if you have a solution. But how to define if I am solving an A-level issue? It's kind of very easy, because when you start talking about many features your product has, it's very difficult to identify which feature is the main feature, which actually is responsible for solving that big issue. So if you cannot communicate in a single line what your product actually does, probably you are not solving an A-level issue. And the third thing, which is, in my humble opinion, very important, is get to yes or no as soon as possible. We spend enormous amount of time on, just waiting for yes or no. So it's kind of in between, maybe. And we live with maybe, which comes from our prospect customer for 3, 6, or 9 months, just waiting for yes, but in most of the cases, it's not gonna happen. So if you cannot get yes or no within 2 or 3 meetings, just get out of the meeting and find someone else to talk with. And from our very own experience, we always claim that it's enterprises, there are lots of difficult big processes, and we still need to wait, for 9 months. For instance, if you know a company P&G or Procter & Gamble, they never bought anything from a startup in less than a year. So it means by entering the process, you are like allocating tons of time just to close the deal, and in most of the cases, you are not going to close the deal. So it's just better to get out of such a situations as fast as possible. And the third one is not so related to, sorry, I'm just covering that slide. Teach, not sell. It's a tough one again. And, I while talking with other founders, I hear a lot that, I'm now building a product. I have a network of people. I'm going to test my product within that network. I have lots of friends who can actually trying to be polite, and probably they will buy my product, or at least some of them will buy my product, and it's like a market validation. But in reality, it's nothing related to relationship management. So even without having close connections, I think it's helpful to go out and talk with people you don't know, and just try to get yes, and not only yes, but some money from them. So the best validation of your product is paying customers. If it's a feedback we usually hear, yeah, it's a very great product, guys. It's a perfect idea. I never saw it before. Let's move on, and I will help you in any case. It's just a bad feedback. You will cut yourself in a situation when you think that you are working on a really important thing, but nobody's going to pay for that. And actually, our company, from our very own experience, we were in such a situation when we had millions of users in the United States, but we didn't make any money from that. So it's kind of, trying to get validation to, real cash. Second one, teach insight, not features. So as a product manager or B2B sales guy, you just, entering a meeting room full of energy, and you're starting to talk about your product, that product can do this, that, etc., etc. But actually, the customer wants to hear only one thing from you. Can you solve his very own big issue? That's it. It's not about the features. It's just about the things which will be desired in the future and not the current situation. So features is current situation. You don't need to pitch that. And the last one is a simple one. People are buying from people. That's like a common rule, right? But usually we like to talk about companies as some kind of entities with no people inside, and our communication is getting very, very complex. And to know why B2B sales sucks because there are a lot of complexity in it. And B2C businesses are lots of years, ahead of B2B businesses in terms of sales processes and how fast you can close the deal because of this very, very small issue that businesses tend to talk to other businesses instead of just talking to the people. So that's it for today. I'm open for your questions.
How do you usually invalidate features or what's the invalidate?
So actually the main point is don't create any feature before talking to the customer. So what we do, we just talk to the customer. Yeah? Imagine that we have a feature and we are trying to get a real need from the customer. If that needs can be solved by that feature we imagine we have already, that's okay. It's kind of not only about, yes, it can solve, it's about getting some money for that feature. And it's possible, you don't need a presentation, a mock-up, or a line of code to sell a feature. Many companies prove that, and we proved it ourselves that you can close a deal. If it's a real pain, customers are willing to wait until you will have that feature in reality. So it's not a big deal to talk prior actually making that feature.
So it's basically like, will you buy it or not?
Yeah, that's a very simple but actually good question. So there is a very good book about customer development, lean customer development by Cindy Alvarez, and it's all about learning to ask the right questions. It's not about making a perfect pitch or something like that, or communicating in a very right way. It's all about just finding a good questions and trying to learn to ask them. That's it.
How do you cast dev? Do you phone bank? Do you do live focus groups? How do you write scripts, and how close do you keep to them? Any details?
Are you talking about finding prospect customers or?
All cases you can name.
Okay. Actually, again, it's a very, very simple process of trying to define who is your perfect customer. You just need to use LinkedIn or whatever and filter out, the exact role of the guy to whom you are going to sell. Again, it's all about people, right? So if my decision maker is like CMO or CTO, I can easily find those guys on LinkedIn. It's not working in any market, but let's say in US market, it's doable. And you can start just a regular conversation, right? I have some insights. Would you like to get on a 20 minutes call or so just to talk about it? Or I have some insights. Would you like to give me a feedback on that? And it's surprisingly, but most of the people will accept you and will talk with you and spend some time with you if it's a very targeted person. Because probably there are some issues those people want to solve and looking for a solution. So if you did a good job at targeting those people, the odds that you will get on a call, it's really high. So we mostly use LinkedIn to target those guys.
Or just use all the meetups like this one.
Yeah.
So we can ask everyone who is sitting here. So just like this.
More questions? Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Matt, and we can. Okay, so thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so before you go, I just want to thank you again for coming here and thank you, Tadas, for hosting it. I'm not sure if you have Sylvia left, but just one question for you. I organize a meetup and I see a lot of value in communicating to each other and meeting new people. And I want to ask you, please raise your hand if you already met at least one new person here today in this meeting. Okay, so that's gonna have. So please just now before you go, introduce you to at least one person here and try to find a way how you can help each other. Maybe you can try their product, maybe you can introduce to someone, just leave here at least with one new contact, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.